I didn't turn around immediately. Instead, I reached into the passenger seat for my flight bag, taking my time, letting the silence of the neighborhood settle. When I finally looked over, Denise was standing perfectly still on her front porch, her silhouette framed by the harsh glow of her entryway light. She didn't have her clipboard this time. She just stared. No wave, no neighborly nod, just the cold, unblinking gaze of a woman who had decided I was an insurgent in her personal kingdom. I walked inside, kissed Bryn on the forehead, and went straight to my laptop. The notification light was already blinking, an email from my executive officer at the base. Sir, apologies for the after-hours ping. We received another call from the local woman, Denise Kelp. She's demanding a meeting with the person in charge to discuss what she calls conduct unbecoming of an officer living in her sector. She's claiming you're using government resources to intimidate her. How do you want us to handle? I leaned back, a dry, humorless smile tugging at my lips. She was calling the base. She was trying to reach the person in charge to complain about the person in charge. It was a level of irony so dense you could calibrate instruments by it. Tell them to log it, I typed back. Maintain standard protocol, do not reveal my identity or position, let her build her own cage. The next few days were a masterclass in psychological projection. Every time I stepped onto my porch, Denise was there. If I mowed the lawn, she followed the fence line with a digital level. If Bryn played music in her room, even at a whisper, Denise was on the sidewalk with a decibel meter. She had become a ghost that haunted our property line, a specter of beige polyester and misplaced rage. But the breaking point came on a Tuesday. I was in the middle of a high-level briefing at the base discussing regional security when my personal phone vibrated against my thigh. It was Bryn. She never calls during school hours. Dad, her voice was small, shaking. She's here in the backyard. I felt a cold flash of adrenaline, the kind that clears your head and narrows your focus. Who, Bryn, where are you? Denise, I'm in the kitchen. She's in our yard with a man in a vest. They're looking at the trees. She told him we're encroaching and that the fence needs to be torn down. Dad, she's screaming at the man that we're dangerous. Lock the doors, Bryn. Go to the basement. I'm coming home. I didn't speed, but I didn't waste time. By the time I pulled into Maplewood Drive, the scene was already a circus. Two police cruisers, Ramirez again, and a city surveyor's truck were parked haphazardly across the street. Denise was in the center of it, her face a blotchy, frantic red, gesturing wildly at my property. I stepped out of the truck, my movements slow and deliberate. I kept my face neutral, the command voice tucked away, replaced by the calm observation of a man watching a train wreck. Is there a problem, officer? I asked, joining the circle. He's here, Denise shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at my chest. The agitator, officer, I told you, he's been threatening me. He's been using his military status, whatever that is, to bypass township laws. That fence is 4 inches over the line. I want it gone. I want him cited. I want a restraining order. Ramirez looked at me, his eyes pleading for me to make this easy. Marcus, she's claiming the property survey from 30 years ago shows a discrepancy. She called the city out for an emergency measurement. The surveyor, a young guy looking terrified, held up a digital transit. Sir, she's very insistent. I looked at Denise. She was smug now, her chest puffed out, sensing victory. She thought she had me. She thought she'd finally found the lever that would break my composure. Denise, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, yet it cut through her noise like a blade. Do you really want to do this today? Oh, don't you, Denise, me, you think you're special, you think because you wear a green suit you can ruin the aesthetic of this neighborhood. I've contacted your superiors. I've filed a formal complaint with the Department of Defense. You're finished. I took a slow sip from the travel mug I'd brought from the office. I see, and what did the superiors say? They're investigating you, she lied, her eyes darting. They said you're a rogue element. They're sending the base commander himself to deal with you. I let a long, dramatic pause hang in the air. I looked at Ramirez, then at the surveyor, then back to the woman who had made my daughter's life a misery for months. That's interesting, I said, my voice devoid of emotion, because I haven't received a call from myself all morning. The silence that followed was absolute. It was the kind of silence you find at high altitudes, thin, cold, and heavy. Denise's brow furrowed. What are you talking about? I reached into my pocket and pulled out my military ID, the blue card that carries more weight than any clipboard. I didn't shove it in her face. I held it at waist height steady. My name is Colonel Marcus Treadwell, I said, and for the first time I let a hint of that steel plate command authority leak into my tone. I am the installation commander of Grayson Air Force Base. Every one of those anonymous complaints you filed, they went to my desk. Every time you called the MP line to report a dangerous officer, you were calling my office. Denise's mouth opened but no sound came out. She looked like a fish gasping on a dock. Her eyes flicked from the ID to my face, then back to the ID. You're him, she stammered, the red in her face draining into a sickly, waxen gray. But you drive a truck, you're never in uniform. I wanted a home, Denise, not a headquarters, I said, stepping half an inch closer into her personal space. She recoiled as if I'd struck her. I wanted my daughter to have a life where people like you didn't matter, but you've spent 3 months harassing a federal officer, falsifying police reports, and trespassing on private property. I turned to Ramirez. Officer, I have high-definition 4K footage of Mrs. Kelp entering my backyard while my daughter was home alone today. I also have the logs of over 40 frivolous calls to emergency services. I'd like to file a formal complaint for stalking, harassment, and filing false police reports. Ramirez didn't hesitate, he actually looked relieved. Absolutely, Colonel, step over here, Mrs. Kelp. Wait, she gasped, her voice cracking. I was just trying to protect the neighborhood. Hugh, help me. Her husband, who had been watching from their porch, did something I'll never forget. He didn't move, he didn't shout. He simply sat down in a lawn chair, picked up a newspaper, and began to read. He was done. As Ramirez led a sobbing, panicked Denise toward the cruiser, I felt a small hand slip into mine. Bryn had come out of the house. She wasn't hiding anymore. She watched as the lights flickered one last time and the car pulled away, leaving the street in a sudden, beautiful quiet. Is it over, Dad? She asked. I looked down at her, seeing the girl she was becoming, strong, resilient, and finally safe. Yeah, Bryn, I said, the sarcastic edge I'd carried as a shield finally melting away. It's over, let's go fix the fence. We did just that. We spent the afternoon in the sun, working together. And for the first time in 3 years, as the sun dipped below the horizon of Maplewood Drive, I didn't feel like a commander on a mission. I felt like a father at home. The HOA, or rather the ghost of it, never returned. Denise moved out 3 months later after the legal fees and the public embarrassment became too much to bear. The new family that moved in brought us cookies on their first day. They had a daughter Bryn's age. Sometimes people think that power is about who can shout the loudest or who has the most rules. But after 23 years in the service, I know the truth. Real power is knowing exactly who you are, staying calm when the world goes mad, and knowing that the most important territory you'll ever defend isn't a base or a border. It's the 4 walls of the place you call home.